Kevin and I have worked together for about 20 years, and whenever we have ideas for movies, they always come out of very character-driven psychological places rather than concept places. So we always start with an idea for a character rather than an idea for a plot. So we like the idea of a character that is so driven by ambition that we tell a metaphor about selling out. So we basically take a very character-driven movie, we put it in horror, and we tell a transformative story. So we basically just wanted to have a movie where there was a girl slowly getting sick and transforming and becoming something different. But rather than doing a vampire or a werewolf movie, we liked the idea of celebrity, the idea of ambition being a sickness and celebrity being a monster. So.
Can you guys relate to that at all? Probably not to that extent, but I mean, really, can't anyone who has a passion?
I mean, it's definitely a metaphor. I think most actors will probably be able to relate to this. A lot of actors have been faced with that ultimate decision of like instant gratification versus artistic integrity.
Yeah. When we heard Pat's story, we were so moved. We said, let's tell a story about this guy. We'll make it a female though, so they won't.
Well, as someone who's been doing this for 20 years and I'm not, independently wealthy, and I'm not, in any sort of things are starting to happen for me now, but it had to happen through hard work. Not that I wasn't offered, I was offered an opportunity when I was in my 20s to be a spokesperson for a major commercial, which ended up making the guy millions of dollars, but I turned it down at the time because I felt like, and there are days when I think, I wish I'd just taken that money, because there are days I don't want to be in the business anymore, you know what I mean? Yeah. But in terms of, yes, it was a question of integrity, but also I don't think that anything I've ever done in my life was gratifying unless I feel like I worked for it, I earned it. And there's a decision to be made at some point, for all of us, and it happens for Alex in the movie, and she makes what seems like the right decision, but is ultimately her demise.
Not the right decision.
Yeah.
But even beyond the industry, it's like as human beings, like having dreams is a good thing, and this is a movie just sort of about the process of obtaining it, and just don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
Don't let them turn into nightmares.
Well, and I mean, dreams are only worth something if you honor yourself in the process. If you compromise who you are, then it's your dream becomes something else.
How is it trying to get the audience, though, to sympathize with her decision? Because while I was watching it, I kind of did feel that. I mean, she didn't know what she was getting into, so I could kind of understand to a point.
Which happens a lot, People think, oh, this will just be like my quick route to stardom, and it ends up biting them in the ass because they have no idea what they're getting into. So many girls and guys move to LA with stars in their eyes. Sound bites. And no, it's true, and they don't realize, that you need to be wary, and you need to have a thick skin, and not everybody has your best interests at heart. Yeah, you have to know yourself.
Who you are.
Know thyself. It's paramount.
It's interesting in the movie though that she's the heroine, and yet it turns out that all of the people, all of her friends, and including me, we're actually right. We're the ones that were trying to help her, Yeah. And suddenly there's a shift in this sort of not that you lose empathy for her, but there's a shift in perspective of we're sort of behind her decision, but she made a bad decision, and all the things that everyone was saying, all the things we were saying to her were actually right. You need to work for it. You need to work hard. Her friends are trying to help her out. One of her friends wants to make a movie with her, but it's not going to be for a lot of money. But she looks at the thing that's going to make her a star.
It is kind of fun, though, because even though she's doing terrible, terrible things towards the end, you really do never lose empathy because it's not entirely her fault. I kept trying to rationalize it the entire time.
I think the audience, you assume your protagonist is good, because most movies, that's what it is. And so this is set up in that sort of idea of this girl in the big city going after her dreams, and you're like, oh, I know what this is. And then over the course of this movie, you start seeing under those layers a bit more, and you end up with a third act where maybe she's not the innocent person.
Yeah, and I think it's a matter of just the point of view of the movie, because I think in any walk of life, you look at people that have some kind of dumb little feud going over anything. And it's like, if you talk to each person, of course they think that they're right. You know, so it's kind of like, yeah, we're following her story, and you see people like, you know, Aaron, who like seems like the you know, who's the competition, and they seem like they have this kind of little rivalry going. And you know, obviously you side with her, but it's like if we were following Aaron, I'm sure Aaron is the star of her own little world and thinks that she's, you know,
There are
the
these
center of
people
it.
doing
We actually
Center of
just
attention.
talked about that in another thing, how the roles in the film are very, the segments of the film are very, what's the word, compartmentalized, you know? So like some of us, I really wasn't aware, other than reading the script, of what kind of movie you guys were making, because my scenes are very reality based and very like, you know, and you know, Fabian said the same thing, and Noah said the same thing. Everyone's kind of in their own movie, which is a really cool way to make a movie, because really the only one that is fully in on it is Alex. Mark Center and I forget the actress's name, the other casting director. You know, they have, that's like you open the door and that's in a whole other world. You know what I mean? They act like, you know, they're not even from Earth. You know what I mean? Like, so it's really cool that way. You know, because it all does come from it's all these separate worlds and all these people with their own different stories and movies and things. But it then you know it all collides into this sort of like surreality of the climax. This sort of like David Cronenberg, Polanski, very subjective, like, you know, are we inside someone's like mind, compartments of someone's mind, you know, who's in the mind, you know, and you never come back from it.
Yeah.
Did you guys build up the mythology of the production company, the cult, much more? I was very satisfied with what I got on screen, but I imagine that there's probably a lot of rules to that world and a purpose to what they're doing too.
Yeah, everything. Even the name of the company, you know, and what it means. It was all you.
What does the name of the company mean, and what is the name of the company?
The company is Estrellas Pictures, which is, you know, Estrellas was the god of stars, you know.
Yeah, and even the symbol of the movie is a star on a crucifix because they worship celebrity. They worship stardom.
Yeah.
You know?
But as far as there being more of a backstory, yes, there used to be more in there. Travis was talking about that earlier, that like, you know, but we felt that, you know, people understood it without that, and it gave us more time to focus on her story and really zero in. We felt that people understood what was happening with this cult without giving them a
They know what a cult is.
backstory. So, you know, we did have a little more stuff explaining them in past cuts, but we felt that like it might start overshadowing her story, and I don't think people needed an explanation for it.
I mean, there were versions where they listed the titles of the films the company had done since the 30s or 40s, and there were movie posters and stuff. So,
Yeah.
I like that when the cult shows up, when they're on the hill, that they all look exactly like when you go to Academy screenings of movies
Yes.
during war season.
That was the point.
They all look exactly like those people. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
The note we gave the costume designer was like, "You're going to the Oscars." or something like that. You know?
Yeah.
This isn't like
But like just those faces and those
Taken,
types of
yeah.
people. Those are whenever
Totally.
you go to see screenings during award season, it's like
Yeah.
it's like the older people, like distinguished looking.
no upside down
people.
crosses.
they
just,
donate to
you know.
the public radio station.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And how about with Sarah too? Because I had the same thing. I mean, I got an adequate amount of information. I was definitely satisfied in that respect. But I think because I was so invested with her, like with this production company, and wanting to know more about that I was interested in more. So I was kind of wondering why she is in the position she's in now. Why is she alone, and does she have no family?
I mean, that was just a choice I had to make. Yeah. You know, she has one line that basically says, like, I don't really have a family, and that's all you get of her backstory.
And I was conscious. Yeah.
So,
We wanted people to be able to put themselves in her. You know.
yeah, you know, for the purposes of the film, we wanted it to be ambiguous, but it couldn't be ambiguous for me. It had to, you know.
This character's backstory is actually the 92 minutes that lead up to her going into the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty
right.
much.
She's actually
Yeah.
born
Yeah.
at the end of the movie.
You're
right?
basically
All
seeing
you
you're basically
know.
seeing an
Yeah.
origin story of like
Pretty much.
a horrible you know, the whole movie's set up to like what she becomes.
I already want to see the sequel.
Yeah. Now she's got the role.
Well,
Star your eyes.
Yeah. Sorry, Eric.
I love getting in that makeup every moment of every
Oh my
day,
God.
right?
Let's do it again.
with the contacts and the bald wig.
How was that? Were you inspired by anything, like in terms of the makeup and wanting it to like reflect something that was happening to her body?
Well, it's funny. Yeah, obviously we were inspired by the makeup to make it look like, yeah, she's falling apart. Her body, she's dying from the inside out. Her body's deteriorating. But honestly, like, I think that Hugo, our makeup designer, special effects makeup designer, did such a good job that like wasn't even what I was expecting. Like
That
I came
guy's
on set and
a
went, whoa, like like
Crazy
I didn't think she was gonna look that bad.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, what are we writing here? Holy shit.
Oh,
I
yeah.
felt terrible. I was like, oh.
But it was something that that developed over the course of the writing the script, because I think in the script it was pretty just she gets sick, she gets sicker. But then the idea of sort of like using like faces of meth, you know, those sort of that how people can sort of, you know, just deteriorate over the course of like 2 months of meth use. And you gave that to Hugo and you used that as a reference point, and then all of a sudden you get this thing where you're like, that feels real world,
Yeah.
and it's also
Yeah.
totally.
Oh yeah, I mean we showed the photos because obviously it's what we wanted. I just didn't think we were gonna get it back.
No, I mean that guy's
You know,
a
like-
crazy genius. Like the guy,
Oh,
the
yeah.
work that guy did on Cheap Thrills, which was like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
for no money and no time, is like stuff that you would look at in a mirror in a room with fluorescent lights and not be able to tell that it's not actually your face. I mean, it's
Yeah, we
like,
had a genius makeup department.
I got like
He's-
emotional at the monitor. I was
Oh my
like,
God.
what he did to her, you know, like
Yeah.
Kevin was saying, like we were showing him photos of like meth heads and people kind of like, you know, at the brink. And he did it, and we were like,
Really
this is
well.
getting kind of heavy. It kind of transcended just horror movie at that point.
Which is
It
funny
felt real.
because like the makeup department was such a like support for me. They were so sweet and like because I would see them at the beginning and the end of every day, and they were just so like gentle and like hugs
Yeah.
and like it's okay.
Did you get to shoot in order?
No.
I was just wondering with the transformation and how you could possibly
that
keep
would've
track and
been great.
maintain continuity.
No, not for us. It was a very hard shoot.
That's rough. I mean, I've been lucky the last 3 or 4 of these movies that I did, the smaller movies, we did them all basically in sequence. You know,
Oh, nice.
Cheap Thrills and
There was 3 locations.
everything, but yeah, you guys had some.
We had like 15 locations. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
too much.
Well, all the more kudos to you then, because
Okay.
like that's like.
Yeah.
That's like, you know, a lot of your work is done for you if you get to do it in order, but if you can't, you have to just constantly be.
Oh, yeah.
clocking
Yeah,
every
going
line.
back and forth.
Yeah, I remember on set going like, yeah, this happens after you did this, but before you.
Where are we
Yeah.
here? You've
Do
already
it.
done this.
Make it happen.
So yeah, so if you could just be a little
Yeah.
more than you were here.
So
yeah.
2 minutes.
You did it great though.
Yeah.
Was there any digital component in that, or was it all practical effects?
It's all practical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about even before you start to transform and you're kind of like having your freak out at the audition? Because I swear to God, in one shot, there's like veins popping out of your neck and like your face is almost turning another color. Is that all you?
That is all me.
Let's
That's
talk about
all
that.
that my body's doing. That.
So wait, there's a scene in this film Possession, Zola Johnny, where she has a freak out in a subway station that we're all obsessed with, and I kept telling her like, you're gonna have that moment in the movie.
That's what he's like, this is your subway scene.
So she
and I'm
did.
like,
You did one take,
done.
and she did one take, and it was like everyone was like, "Oh my god, like what are we doing in this movie?" And her dad was at the monitor.
yeah, the one day my dad came
And I'm like,
outside,
can he not be here? I feel like a sadist. And so she nails it, and I'm like, fuck it. So I go in, and I'm like, okay, that was a 6. Let's go to a 10. She's
Yeah.
like, that was a
I'm like,
6.
that was a 6?
That was a
I'm
10.
like,
And I'm like, all right,
worse.
I go to a 14, and like she went to a 10, and it was like, and then that happened, and it was just like, cut. Like, okay, let's all go.
My dad was on
shower
the verge of
now.
tears when I
Yeah.
saw him.
He was emotional.
Have your parents seen the final cut?
No. I don't know if I want them to. My baby.
Yeah. My baby.
Oh, my little girl.
There's a really cool thing that really great actors can do, which is like an acting teacher said to me a long time ago, like if the body is 70% water, then something happens, like a metabolic change happens when you set your mind to it and you're in that state. You can actually physically transform yourself in certain ways. Like you see,
Yeah.
like
It's true.
people do that, and it is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, the
Like,
veins, all that, that's all real. That all really happened. It was like, wow.
Looks exhausting.
It was exhausting. I ate a huge lunch after that.
Well deserved.
Thank you.
Do you, any of you have any crazy audition stories? Like just outrageous things that have happened?
Shall we?
I had one recently.
I heard that. You shall. I will hold you to
Oh.
that.
No.
I wouldn't think you had it from the other side. I went to one recently. It was for a movie about a photographer, like a fashion photographer, who takes his models up to, I think it's Alaska, and there's a genetically engineered polar bear on the loose killing people. So, on top of having to do, a thing in the audition where I'm like with my camera, like, yeah, work it, baby, work it, and then she gets eaten by the bear while I'm taking the picture, and I have to go like, what? You know, Bye.
Bye.
Love you.
We're saying about
Stay
it.
Bye, sweethearts.
Travel safe. We love you. Bye.
Love you.
So I was doing the, freaking out about the polar bear that's not actually there, of course, and not actually eating someone and all stuff. And the director had all of these like notes for me, and he was like, "You know all the brands. You know Tom Ford. You're like able to say this, that." I'm like, I don't know what this has to do with anything. And then I found out that I was one of 2 people up for the role, and then he cast himself in the role. Which is the second time that's happened.
He
to me
really
in my
was the
entire
best part.
career.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he probably
That's
goes to the
amazing.
Do
tape.
you know who the best person for this movie is? Me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was Vincent Gallo.
Yeah.
You know, he probably didn't want to do both roles, and he was just looking to see if there was any better out there.
He's like,
just
can I be topped? No, I cannot. I cannot be topped.
couldn't be tough.
Yeah.
I need to hear this story now.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so Kevin and I were trying to make a movie in the early aughts, 2000 aughts, called Our Lady of Sorrow. It was this big, ambitious Lynchian film, and we stupidly had the screenplay online. We were like, "Hey, actors, read the screenplay first, then come in. We'll get a better audition from you." That's how naive we were. So you shouldn't do that, because then an actor gets married to a role that they're not going to get, and it's harder to say, "All right, thank you, we'll be in touch." You want to create a disconnect. So we had an actor come in, and he clearly wasn't right for the lead role, And it just so happened that he was at the end of a long session, so we had to then thank him for his time, but then walk to the elevator with him, and go down to the parking lot, and he was still with us, and it's a long goodbye, and it was like, and he was a sweet guy, and he wanted to know if he did well. We said, "Oh, he did well." We knew he didn't do so well, but we liked this guy. So he started to email me and say, "Is there any part for me in the film? I like you guys, and I've read the script. I really think I could be this guy." We said, "Well, maybe there's a small cameo or something that you could do in the movie, And then what happened was the funding fell through. The movie didn't happen, as so happens, and he went off back to his home in Brazil. We didn't hear from him until about 8 months later, 7 months later. We suddenly got an email from somebody who said, "Hey, congratulations on your movie. I hear David Lynch is directing it." I said, "What are you talking about?" And we said, "Yeah, it's starring this actor, and it was that guy." And basically, he went and he lied to the Brazilian press and did around 20 interviews,
Yeah,
basically
his family saying that he
saying-
was having all the success back.
saying he was going to be in our movie and David Lynch was directing it, and Kirsten Dunst and Vincent Gallo were starring in it, and he was in it. And he told the story of auditioning for David Lynch that was all made up, of how David Lynch would shine a spotlight or strobe on him, and he had to keep his composure and his cool. And if he was able to, and then David Lynch said,
Yeah,
"You got it. You got
And
it."
it's amazing because David Lynch is like one of
Yeah.
a director who does not audition.
Doesn't do that at all.
So
He watches
you
cast solely off.
we start getting contacted by Brazilian press wanting us to comment on this, and we have no idea what's going on. And there's 20 articles, and we're like, "Do you guys fact check Brazil? Like, this movie's copywritten. We've written it. It's not happening. It's our film. This David Lynch has nothing to do with
Yeah,
this."
they reached out to David Lynch, asked him if he was
Lawyer
making a
and-
movie called
yeah.
Our Lady of Sorrow. He said, "Never heard of it."
Never heard of it.
And,
Yeah.
like
on camera on his website. Yeah.
And
And we had to call this guy and say to him like, you can't fuck around like this. And he, I'm sorry, I'll tell everybody, but he didn't. And then we had to put a statement on our website, and then to this day you can find these articles online.
yeah, but what was really
Right.
crazy was, if you remember, like, I think he told his lies so much that, like, I don't know if he was delusional or that he got into it, because you called him that time and you said, "Hey, you're telling people that, you're in this movie when you came in and auditioned for us." And he was like, "Who's this?" And we were like, "I'm Dennis, I wrote the script." He was like, "Wait, you wrote the script?" And it really, but he
Thought he
sounded
wrote it,
genuinely
yeah.
confused that, like,
Scary, yeah.
"Who are you?" And we were like, "Yeah, we were the guys that you came in."
Like he, in his mind, it turned into he had
Yeah.
an audition for David Lynch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of like sad, desperate. I almost felt bad, But the story he told about it, this fake story, we incorporated it into the movie.
Movie, yeah, the spotlight on
Bananas.
it.
So-
That's
That
so
David
good.
Lynch movie.
So yeah, that's desperation and ambition right there.
Did you think about him for a role in this movie?
No.
Never.
No,
again.
no.
Yeah.